I said, this is really wonderful. And so I went up to, I'm not sure if it was at Bliss Institute or another building, but they were doing editing. And so Andy was there, and we sat and we talked, and I just immediately the warmth of his personality and the unassuming way of his, all of that came through immediately. And so I said, okay, this is Andy Palacio. Finally, I get a chance to meet the Andy Palacio. That's what I was thinking. Then on subsequent trips to Belize, we began to exchange emails and everything, and I told him I was coming down. So he met me in Belmopan. He was working with at Niche there, and he met me and he said, we were riding along in his car, in his truck. He said, I want you to hear something. So he popped in a CD and he says, this is a project I'm working on. I'm working on this project. I said, I was listening. I said, this is really interesting. He says, this is different. And it was a Watina. But this was a number of years before the release, about in 2005, I think it was 2005. So I heard a number of the demos from that, a number of the songs, and it just struck me as being quite unique. I said, where is it going? Because I think that he saw that there needed to be a shift in musical identity within the culture, because so much of Punta, and especially through Punta Rock, had become so commercialized. I think he believed, he saw that it was becoming, and so he wanted to go back, and he looked toward Paranda and other forms of social commentary. And so those are my particular remembrances of Andy, and he was so very kind. One of the other times when I went to Belize, we went to a karaoke club, and he took me to a karaoke club in San Ignacio. And so we sat and talked and everything, and had a wonderful time. And also did some comments, a review for the documentary film. So I had actually contacted him on several occasions via email about the conference that we were working on and everything. So he was I was excited about that at that time. So in closing for this section, I want to read some words from his song that I was speaking to Dr. Palacio about. And this English translation is, I wonder who will bake cassava bread for us in times to come. I wonder who will speak with me in Garifuna in times to come. I wonder who will sing Arumahani songs with me in times to come. I wonder who will heal us with the dugu in times to come. The time has come for it to be preserved. The time has come for it to be taught. The time has come for it to be preserved, lest we lose it altogether. Our ancestors fought to remain Garifuna. Why must we be the ones to lose our culture? Let's not do it. Parents, please listen to me. Teach the children our language and our songs, our beliefs and our dances. The time has come for it to be preserved. The time has come for it to be taught. The time has come for it to be preserved, lest we lose it altogether. Lest we lose it altogether. If we can just listen to a portion of this. The preservation of Garifuna culture through music and art, or writing and literature in some way. Could you please tell the listeners what you think of your major contribution, how you think your contributions have been in the promotion of this culture and the ways you've contributed personally to the promotion of Garifuna culture and identity?
First of all, yeah, thanks. Preserving is a great thing in my family. My dad is like I said, a Garifuna teacher in LA. So early on, I picked up on that we were supposed to learn and retain it. However, what I see is as far as the distribution of the music and art, it's still in its infancy. We're still growing. We need to network a little bit more so that everyone can have access to it. And I mean, being a visionary, I can see that happening. So my role as far as preserving, I'll do it as long as I can. I've been involved with the music way back in infancy with Dr. Lealand and the rest of the rockers in Los Angeles. Early on, above, I can mention a few of the guys that have done album covers for it. And early on, I mean, we really didn't have any help as far as institutions behind us. We were doing it from the mere love and preservation. So I'm happy to see that it's catching on and it's growing. And we need more people to be involved in it. And you don't have to be Garifuna to be involved in preserving a culture, because there are many cultures that have gone by the wayside that we didn't get involved with. So I think that we have to get the younger children involved so they can preserve it in the future and not just look at it as a old world culture.
One thing that Gregg has not mentioned that I hope he would is his actual visual paintings and his work in his calendar, the work that you see here behind you and also upstairs. There are, I guess, 17, 18 paintings that he sent, as well as 25 or 26 watercolors that are absolutely beautiful to go along with this. And he will allow you to, he'll be here tonight and you can see a number of those. One particular painting that Gregg has not, that you see, that many of you have seen, that is on the cover of much of the material that we've presented, posters. Interesting is, I think, is the one that you said the Smithsonian was interested in. So he's quite modest. He's not talking about himself the way I wanted him to talk about himself. And I was introduced to his work actually through Dr. Palacio. I don't know if he remembers. I was sitting in his office back in. I stole it. He gave me a postcard. He gave me a postcard. He said, "You need to look him up. This is my cousin. He says it's Gregg Palacio. He's an artist in LA, and you'd be very interested in his work." I said, "My mother's a visual artist. I've grown up all around this all the time." So, and that's what my first introduction. And later on, I met Gregg when he came through here on several occasions. But so make sure you look at the artwork before you leave. Okay. And next, Mr. Figueroa.
Sure. Also, not to mention, you forgot to mention, his brother is a former NBA player, Milt Palacio. He's currently playing in Europe. And his dad, Mr. Clifford Palacio, is collaborating with GAHFU, the organization that Cheryl, my wife, runs. In the Garifuna school that we have in LA, we offer classes on a weekly basis, and that's our contribution to keeping the culture alive, the language. Mr. Palacio is one of our teachers. He's 80-something. I don't want to reveal his age. He's 77 young, okay. Cheryl had the vision. She said, Ronnie, let's go ahead and open up a school as a pilot program. And we said, how? We don't have the facility, we don't have the money, we don't have, well, we said, let's do it. So we talked to this gentleman who's a retired teacher. He's an African American, Mr. Davenport. He owns a community learning center on 48th Street between Normandy and Tinker in Los Angeles. He said, Ronnie, I've been waiting for you guys. It's been 5 years in the planning. You know, we want to have this. We want to bring the Garifuna community together because we live in an area where it's heavily African American, and they don't want to get involved in what we do, but we need to bring the Garifuna. So by doing that, maybe they will step up to the plate and say, you know what, there is an ethnic group, there is a Garifuna who have never been enslaved. Maybe they will be the inspiration for a lot of African Americans to go back to their roots, you know. So classes are $25 per session, 8 weeks, and we have anthropologist Michelle Goldwasser, who is traveling from San Diego 2 hours every Saturday to take the classes. Dr. Gill, who is the Consul General of St. Vincent, who lives in LA and has a clinic. He comes to the classes. And we have a number of children who are learning how to drum and sing in Garifuna. And through learning how to sing in Garifuna, they are picking up a wealth of vocabulary. And we were shocked when we saw our son, Isani, he's only 9. He was sitting in the corner on a Saturday singing in Garifuna. It's like, what? You know, it's like a miracle. You know, you don't know how much you're teaching the children until you realize what they show you, you know. So he made me proud.
Well, I have a lot to say, and I have to try to figure out how to make sense of all of it, because that's quite a task. Making the film, The Garifuna Journey, has been a real personal journey for me as well. And every film is a journey. And I'll try to let you know a little bit about that journey. I guess you asked what ways. Would you tell me again what you want me to say?
What are your contributions to the preservation of Garifuna culture?
Okay, well, let's see. It started out, I was in art school in Chicago at the School of the Art Institute, and actually I'm trained as a painter. And in 1980, 81 was when I got my master's degree, and I needed to leave Chicago. I couldn't just stay at the art school because it just got too intense, and I arranged for my to go down to the island of St. Vincent. I picked an island in the Caribbean that nobody really knew about, and I thought that would be a good place to go. And I was going to look at the influences that artists, the resources that artists draw their inspiration from. When I got to St. Vincent, I did the work. I stayed there for about 3 months. And all the time that I was there, people kept saying, well, I was really interested in going to visit the Carib community, and people kept saying, don't go there, you know, you're not going to be welcome, don't go. But of course, I needed to go because they told me not to go. So I did go. And I really didn't know anything about this community. I'd never heard about it when you were in the States. In fact, I was told by my professors at the School of the Art Institute, why are you even going to St. Vincent when you could go to Paris or Europe to study art? Why are you going to the Caribbean? So that, of course, made me want to go all the more. So anyways, I did go and visit the Carib community, and in fact, I was not well received at that time. There was a lot of tension between the Carib community and the rest of St. Vincent, because they had always been suppressed and considered savages. Even when I was there in 1980, they were considered savages in a way. I left St. Vincent in 1980, but I was really curious to know about the people who had left, who were exiled from St. Vincent. And it took me another 14 years before I got to Belize. In the course of time in between, I became a filmmaker, went to Haiti and made a film, was in Chiapas and made a film. And so I think I was learning my skills, getting myself ready to be able to go to Belize to make this film on the Garifuna. And I was up in Chicago, and my partner at the time, Bob Richards, who's a photojournalist who took this photograph, and a lot of really wonderful photographs of the Garifuna community, was there during the November reenactment days. And he said, you have to come down, you have to bring your camera. So I said, okay. So I dropped everything and went down, and that was the beginning. The first scenes in this film are the images that I captured of the Garifuna Settlement Day in, where was it? I guess it was in PG. It was in PG. So after that, I had heard about the community that was exiled, that was never enslaved, and all through the years that in between the time I was in St. Vincent and Belize, I tried to find out more about the community, but nobody seemed to know a whole lot about the community, especially in the United States and the community that I was in. So when I got back to Chicago after doing those collecting that initial footage, I met, Bob Richards had a photo exhibit, and at the photo exhibit in Chicago, I met Rodel Castillo, who is a Garifuna in Chicago, and very much tradition bearer and cultural ambassador, promoter of his own culture. And so we started to talk, and he said, and I was more interested in the beginning of the process of making a film, and he introduced me he guided me in the process. Both Bob and I had to go back and meet with the National Garifuna Council. Am I talking too much here?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, we had to go back to the National Garifuna Council and present a proposal allowing us to make this film. And it was based on my other film, which is over there on the table. I made a film in Haiti about voodoo in the church in Haiti. And it's a film that presents voodoo as a traditional African religion based on ancestors, relationship with ancestors. And I believe it was, and they saw this film, and the Cayetanos were there, Sebastian and Fabian, and they really vouched for me and said that me and Bob, saying that we were able to present voodoo in a very respectful way, so they could trust that we could do the same thing with this film. And it was, I'll tell you, it was a very emotional meeting with the National Garifuna Council. And Bob at the time, who's African American from the south side of Chicago, he had a very emotional response to his being in the presence of the of the council. In fact, had to remove himself. He was crying. So somehow there was some immediate emotional connection here between him and myself and the community. Anyways, we were granted approval to make this film. And that began the process of insider-outsider collaboration. And I consider myself, I am a filmmaker, but I don't go in with a script. I allow the story to reveal itself. And in this process of outsider-insider collaboration, it became really a perfect combination, because I worked with Sebastian and Fabian and Roy Cayetano, the National Garifuna Council, and they would say, okay, you have to go over here and record this, you have to get this interview, you have to be at this occasion, things I wouldn't know. And on the other hand, I wanted to capture images and footage of things that caught my eye, certain, I don't know, things that were taken for granted within the community, a way of dress, foods, people, and within the community they would say, well, why are you videotaping that? That's of no interest. And I said, well, maybe it's not of interest to you, but it is to me, because I don't know this community and this culture, and it's of interest to me, and if it is to me, then it would probably be to other people. So I became a bridge, actually, between the community and the public at large, people who knew nothing about this community, and a remarkable story of resistance to slavery. I mean, this is not something that we hear about in North American culture at all. Anyways, so I made the film, and we completed the film, and after the film was over, or actually even before it was over, we mounted an exhibition in Chicago with excerpts of interviews. We had your drawings, yeah, your paintings were in the exhibit. We had excerpts from interviews. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say before I get to that. There was one person in the film, Virginia Nunes, who's from PG, and I interviewed her. Bob and I were walking down the street one day. He's a very charismatic figure with a camera, and of course finds friendly faces and invites himself into their homes. And so Virginia invited him into the house to have dinner. Well, little did Virginia know that I was also coming along. So in the process of her cooking dinner for Bob and myself, I videotaped the whole event. And this was something that the community, that some of the people afterwards felt like, well, we really don't want that to be in the film because she doesn't represent a very sophisticated aspect of the Garifuna community. And I really insisted that she be in the film because she represented the essence of the energy, and positive energy of the Garifuna people, which I thought was pretty interesting. Anyways, so that was a little sideline. But at the exhibit, we mounted this exhibit in Chicago, which had her as, that was the whole point. I had an excerpt of her in the exhibit, along with Garifuna, I can't even remember what else it was. Yeah. The response that I got, which was interesting, really remarkable, the contribution, you're asking me what I felt like the contribution was. Well, the Garifuna community came out to the exhibit and saw parts of the film and the paintings and this and that. And some of the people actually who came, who were Garifuna, cried at the exhibit because they were just overwhelmed with emotion that they felt like their culture was worth mounting an exhibit on, or even making a film about, because they had for so long felt like their culture was worthless or was denigrated or not respected. But to see it respected brought out a real emotional aspect, and I found this to be true of just about every Garifuna person in Chicago who saw the exhibit. They really appreciated what I was doing, which I really didn't understand that I was doing that until they explained to me how important it was to them. It was really a byproduct. So that was pretty interesting.
Can I make
comment?
A confession about who I am? So I did not know about my idol here, but there was another Garifuna painter, Virgilio Lopez, in the Bronx. You know, Virgilio just showcases his paintings. So I asked Bilo to come over to the school to back me up because this was do or die. And then at the end of the day, you know, after seeing everybody in the film, the professor, who was a Puerto Rican legislator in the state assembly, he said, "Wow. Wow." 2 weeks later, I got an A+. Yeah.